Okay, you guys know. Oh, I have to hit the got it button. Okay, you guys know who I am, so I'm used to like introing myself. But this is Kristen Laboda, and just a funny little story is that my husband and Kristen, before we were married, did retreat ministry together. She was a baby, and he was just a few years older. But I will save those secrets for another day. Um, anyway, so I met Kristen through my now husband. I did know him at that time also. They traveled around the country doing retreats for kids and teenagers. And then, we followed each other a little bit over the years, and Kristen will share a little bit about her story. And then we kind of reconnected through a situation she went through. And really, have just kind of watched each other's lives in the background for a while. And then I did a training, Dawn actually did it also, a 90-day training with a coach. It was business centered. It was focused on social media and such. And when I finished that, I was honestly just really praying. Like, I knew I was supposed to jump into something else next, and I didn't know what it was. And I was really just praying, like, Lord, do you want me to do a coaching program or a training program with other people in our industry? Or do you want me to be around like 7-figure earners that are across multiple different industries? Or is it something completely different that you want me to be doing? And I saw Kristen advertise basically that she was going to do a watch party for the women's school, which I kind of sort of knew about before then, but I'm just going to be really honest. I was like, the women's school, isn't that little archaic of a term, right? And so, but I love Kristen, and I was like, I want to listen in on that. I couldn't be on it that day. I harassed her. Those of you with Shackley businesses under, I harassed her for the link. Like, seriously, Kristen, I think I had to ask you 3 or 4 times, which just proves that when we are determined, we are determined. She is quietly laughing at me. And I watched it and I was like, yes, that is totally it. So that is basically my intro. Again, they were like, you should be a strategist, Becky. And I was like, yeah, that's not where I'm going, but I love it so much that I can't help but share it with others. So, hi, Kristen.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I just, I want to welcome you all here. I'm so excited to be here. And I do want to direct you really quick just to that chat box, because if you have any questions, and I know some of you won't even be able to ask them here because you're in different places or doing different things, but in the chat box is my email, which is Kristen, Kristin, womanschool@gmail.com. You can also email or text Becky. She can answer a lot of questions as well. But again, thank you for being here. This is awesome. I know most of you heard about this through Becky, the amazing Becky Cash, who I just do love and adore. And I feel very blessed to, she's a client of mine, friend, student in the journey for sure. And then some of you have also heard it from me through Instagram or Facebook or wherever it was. So this afternoon, I will be doing an introduction to the women's school. And I do have to say introduction because there's so much to share and I have a limited time because I know your time is valuable. So again, don't hesitate to email me or put any questions in the chat, but I'm going to try to go a little bit fast. I'm going to try to talk a little bit fast to get as much as I can in. But I think it's going to be awesome and really give you a taste of this amazing work. And I have been so blessed by the work of January Donovan, who is the founder of the Women's School. And it really has been such an amazing, transformative journey that I've been blessed to walk through. And today, this is just an invitation for you to take that same journey. And I truly believe that it is for every woman. Of course, I was saying this, I think, before the recording start, there are different seasons and different times, and I totally get that as well. But I believe that this class, that's why I'm so passionate about it. It's such a gift and really is truly for every woman. And my goal this afternoon is just really for you to find internally more worth and value in yourselves, and to be open to receiving all that the Lord has for you and wants to give you. And in receiving that, so it's, so in turn that you can give from a place of generosity. Because to me, a beautiful life equals a life of meaning and contribution. And to have that, you need interior freedom. And I've found that it's so important to identify areas in our life and opportunities of growth in our life so that we can give more of ourselves to people that we love. And it's really through that internal growth that our external thrives. And my children and husband can totally attest to my growth internally affecting our family in such a positive way. Because as women, we really are the heart of the home. And when the heart is thriving, the whole body is thriving. So many times we are giving from a place of depletion and exhaustion, or even from a place of lack from several different areas of our life. But when we have a full cup, or when we know what that is, how to accomplish that, we have so much more to give. So how do we get that full cup that we want, that we desire? Well, that goes into the women's school. The women's school, it is a school where you learn practical skills to design your life. It helps women to rebuild their mindset, a resilient mindset that helps women then in turn to grow through accountability, collaboration, and through growth, which is such an exciting process. And really, whether we'd like to admit it or not, we're either growing or we're going the other way. And even going the other way, you could kind of think you're just staying in the middle, which actually is a way of numbing out. And I can attest to the numbing out. That was I feel like at least a good year, maybe 2 of my life. I was a Netflix number. I don't know if any one of you are out there that can relate to that, but find me a good old Netflix that I can just dive into and kind of tune out to life and not have to think about things. That was me. And ultimately, that led me to a lot of unrest. Funny enough, you think you're resting by watching Netflix, a lot of unrest, depletion, and just pure not being settled. So I want to pivot for a minute and look at desires and dreams and why they're so important. So in our desires, we discover our call. In life, we so often live a life of reacting instead of intentionally pursuing our desires. I even began to think that my desires weren't all that important. If they happened, they happened. I was living a good life, trying to do good things, but I was just living by default. I wasn't given any training on how to strategically go after my dreams. And actually, it was the opposite. I was so scared of failure. Failure wasn't even a word that we used in my family. I thought of failure as bad, don't do it, anything that I could fail at. Why would I try it? And I just had, never been taught anything different. And it's actually funny now because my husband, Matt, and I were both intentionally trying to change that negative connotation in our family with that we would even go as far as at our family dinners, we share, it's a constant for us that we share a gratitude for the day and then a failure and how we learn from it. Because failure is actually an opportunity for growth. And we have to give ourselves permission to fail forward and to learn from it. That's actually a script that I took on. And I will speak to that a little bit later too. And if you join the class, you'll hear me use the word scripting a lot. And I coach to that because it's been such a positive thing in my life and helped so many countless women. But one of the scripts I took on right away was that I give myself permission to fail forward and to learn from it. And the word desire actually comes from the Latin form of the word desire, which means of the Father. And that literally, when I found that out, took off the blinders from my eyes as far as dreaming. It really hit me that our desires are not bad. They shouldn't be in default mode because they're of the Father. So even my desires to be an author, to be a coach, to be a trainer of women, to be a great mother and wife, that those desires that were put in me were of the Father. And, that if we don't pursue them, or worse, ignore them, that really, we don't fulfill God's plan for our life. So this understanding just gave me permission to dig deep, and it was fun. And I think for me, it was, I'll share deeper into this later too, just like that permission for the first time to really to dig into that. So, and my contribution with my desires, this looks completely different than yours. We all have such a unique contribution to this world. And I think when you even discover that, it eliminates the competition and the comparison that our society is immersed in. And I think even, when we don't give ourselves that permission to go after the dreams and the desires that the Lord puts on our hearts, that's when that identity crisis comes in. So for me, even the dreaming, it has fueled a discipline that makes me excited to wake up in the morning, makes me excited to do my growth work, to do my work with my children, to do my prayer life. Just so much meaning in my life. And I'll share with you just this very quick story about one of my sons. He's 13, and I love all my kids, but I love him. He reminds me of myself a lot because he just says it like it is. And so one morning, it was actually 3 days after I had started the women's school, the Art of Being a Woman masterclass. And I had really drastically started changing some habits that I'd always wanted to intentionally design, but just didn't really know how. And for some reason, this class just gave me permission to dive into that. So he wakes up, he sees me out there. I was doing my growth work. I had, I'd been praying and just peaceful. And he said, Mom, he's like, can you keep doing that school? He's like, you are so much more peaceful because of it. And because you're more peaceful, we're all more peaceful. And I was like, yes, Isaac, I will continue to do this. Don't worry, And I think he didn't want me to stop again because it was that internal freedom that was making the peace and the joy so apparent that for me, that internal, that was really exuding into our external life. And so I want to share with you really quick it's like a 6-minute video of the founder of the school, the women's school. And she is the teacher of the class called The Art of Being a Woman. And I facilitate this class. And then I also do coaching in group sessions and then private sessions through this work. So I'm going to bring this up on my screen. Give me 1 second. Can you all see that? Dusty, give me a head. Is it a full screen? Yes? Not full screen. Okay. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Let's take a listen.
Who taught you how to be a woman? Today, when you think about your average woman out there, we're really just trying to figure it out as we go. It's not as though we have a school on this is how you manage your mind. This is how you manage your emotion. This is what to look for in a person. This is how you observe yourself. This is how you build a routine. This is how you face critics. And so we go into our adult life ready to create the adventure, the dreams, and we have zero skill set training that allows us to be able to rise over situations, circumstances. And so all of a sudden we're left in a situation in our workplace as mothers with our significant other, and we realize, wait a minute, I'm not happy. I'm actually quite frustrated with my boss. I don't like my relationship. Motherhood is hard. And all of a sudden, life becomes unbearable and hard. Well, $2.7 billion of anxiety and depression drugs every single year. 70% of Americans are stressed. Anxiety and depression is one of the leading causes of suffering for women, postpartum depression. And eating disorder is a massive, massive crisis still, even after years. And so we have to take a look at the fact that there is a massive crisis. And why? Why is it that we have freedom, we could vote, we could choose. We have opportunities in the Western world like no other place in history or time in history. And yet, our freedom does not equal being free. Because if you look at the data, you're not free when you're stressed. As a matter of fact, it feels like you live in this amazing, beautiful world and you have options galore, because in the last 50 years, we now have options galore, and our brain cannot almost catch up with the fact that there's 50 different options.
You lost sound. I'm so sorry. Did that happen right away or was it like a couple minutes ago? I didn't.
Kristen, it was probably about a minute to a minute and a half ago.
So sorry, ladies. Give me a second. Let me just rewind it. We'll start it right here. I apologize. You know what? You press one button and then everything goes awry. I thought I was doing the right thing. We'll continue this.
And our brain cannot almost catch up with the fact that there's 50 different options and not two. And so the fact that we don't know how to make a decision or have not been equipped in our school environment to make firm, concrete, practical decisions, we almost feel crippled. Indecisiveness causes a lot of anxiety. And so the world dramatically shifted. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves in this beautiful world with options, but it feels like we have our hands tied. It really feels like we have these chains and we're looking at this beautiful world of options and we can't go. That's our common story, ladies. And it's a story that you are suffering for. I have suffered and continue to suffer different arenas in my life that I don't see why and how I am not ready to face different parts of my career, my motherhood, my relationship. And so I believe that we have so much more in common in our crisis than I believe we even have the language for. So today, the average woman is comparing, competing, judging, because really the truth is that we're suffering inside. Here's a question I have for you. Who has trained you to be the woman that you want to be? Where are you getting training on how to show up, how to manage your thoughts, how to command your emotion, your anxiety, your stress, all of which are necessary for freedom. All of which are necessary for us to create beautiful relationships, beautiful careers, beautiful homes. And yet, we feel like a blog here, a training here, maybe a podcast here, and a lot of information, not a lot of truth. So if you think about going to the Olympics and you want to be a gold medalist, okay, and you want to go and win that Olympic gold medal in swimming. And so what you do is you read thousands of pages on how to swim. Awesome. But what if you never got into the pool and trained every single day to get in the pool, swim, do the actual work necessary to become the Olympian that you want to be? It doesn't matter if you've read, heard, and inhaled thousands of blogs. If you never get into the arena and start practicing and training, you're still not going to make it to the Olympics. Nobody has ever made it Olympics reading information and consuming information. Training is where we become masters. And so what I see with women today is that the information overload is more overwhelming than it is equipping. That motivation can only take you so much. Empowerment without equipment is unsustainable. We're still stressed. And so the deceptive part about it, sounds like we have so much information. And yet it doesn't even matter when we don't have the right tools and skill set that's going to get us from point A to point B. So my question for you is, what's the collateral damage of not having the right skill set training in the Olympics of our life? Because I believe this is the Olympics of our life. Being a woman, having our voice heard, being mothers, being in an intimate relationship, having our careers. This isn't trial, ladies. This is the Olympics of our life. I have trained thousands of women for the last 20 years. And the truth is that we are pummeled, unprepared into a world that has dramatically shifted, where it feels like we're just trying to survive. That your average woman is trying to figure it out as you go, motherhood, career, and all of a sudden we wake up and we realize, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. I don't like who I'm becoming. I don't even like my spouse. I'm not happy. I'm stressed. I am not fulfilled. That's our common story. The question we need to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do with that? My name is January Donovan, and I am a self-worth strategist. I'm going to show you how you get yourself from point A to point B by crystallizing the problem and the crisis that women have today, and begin the training necessary to get out ourselves of the rut that we've been shoved into and blamed and shamed for the choices we were never taught to make. Ladies, we've had a lot of empowerment and a lot of motivation. It is time to get to work, because you deserve a beautiful life. And we have one shot in this life to create the adventure, the desires, the beautiful life that we want in our relationships, in our careers, in our homes, in our marriages, every arena. And you deserve it. I deserve a beautiful life. We just need to train for it. Sign up for our trainings below, and I'm going to walk you through the skills, the mindset, focusing on the whole woman so that we do not rob ourselves of the life that we desperately desire, but more importantly, deserve.
All right. Give me 1 second. Okay. Sorry about that with the volume. Becky and I were just talking about, I was like, I feel like Zoom and I are becoming friends. Well, maybe not so much anymore. No, I'm just kidding. I just love listening to January. She has so much that speaks to me, but I want to pivot. I hope that you enjoyed that, and just kind of tell you a little bit about my transformation through the work that I've done and why I do this amazing work. I found myself in a place about 2 years ago that I really felt stuck. I felt like I was getting older. I was married, still am married, thank God, with 5 beautiful children, but our marriage had taken a major toll. And we had gone through a massive trauma with our daughter, our youngest daughter, Joy. She is now 6, but at the time she was 1.5 years. and she had a near drowning accident. And praise God, she is alive. We are so grateful for her little sweet life. But when the accident happened, we didn't know if she'd be alive. We didn't know if she would survive. We were in the hospital for over 2 months. Our life was completely turned upside down. And after the aftermath of that trauma, my husband and I, we definitely dealt with it separately, which drew us apart for a while. And I experienced a tremendous amount of PTSD that was really hard for me to manage. And my husband, Matt, was experiencing different emotion pain points. We had tons of changes in our family. We ended up moving to the place that this accident had happened. And as I began to come out of the PTSD through counseling, through lots of different tools that I took, and I started to come out of the PTSD, the fog of the trauma, I realized that I didn't have the skills necessarily to move out of the past narratives, start living in the present, and building toward the future. I felt really stuck and very unfulfilled, and I was even embarrassed by it. I don't think I had the language for what was going on, but I would even go as far as to say, I really felt like I was having a midlife crisis. I just felt my kids were getting older. Life was moving by really quickly. I didn't know how to control that. I felt like I was grasping, wanting my kids to stay little, but knowing that they needed to grow up like we all do. And I was really stuck in past narratives, past thoughts and fears that just swirled through my brain. And I really didn't quite know what to do next. And again, I didn't really have the language to necessarily express that. And there was a sense of embarrassment that even I was going through that at that time. Insert the women's school into my life. I have known January, the gal that you saw on the video, for over 20 years, which is such a blessing. We've been friends, our paths have crossed in and out through those years. We went to college together, and literally one night we had made a move for our family, and I was sitting at her dining room table, and one of her friends, who was a strategist, I am a strategist / coach through the women's school and through the program, The Art of Being a Woman, another strategist, we were sitting there, and this gal just fought for me. We had kids galore doing all sorts of things. Our husbands, I think, were tending to them. And this gal, she fought for me, sharing about why this program was such a life-changing program for her, sharing just her narrative with me, the things that had changed, how our family had drastically changed. And I remember leaving, I couldn't even remember all that she said because I was just sitting there thinking, and I really feel like it was a Holy Spirit moment. And I came home that night, and I can be really quick sometimes when I'm really convicted. And I said to my husband, I was like, Matt, I'm going to sign up for this class. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to invest in myself. I don't think I've ever invested in myself like this. And he was like, awesome, go for it, Kristen. So literally that night I signed up. Maybe it was the next morning, but from that point forward, I did not look back. I've only looked forward. And my growth with the women's school happened at such a quick pace. And I really believe because it was just this joy of growing, seeing my family grow as a product of my growth, my kids, my husband, and the change was really significant and amazing. And even my husband, I'll put a little plug for him. He's a strategist with the man's school now, but it inspired him. I was like, I think you should do the man's school. He's like, the what? I'm like, the man's school. And he's like, okay, I see what it's doing for you. I think it took him a couple months. But it's been really good. So what did it do for me? I talked on this briefly at the beginning, that it really started to give me tools to dream again. And maybe even for the first time. And not only was I dreaming, but Matt and I started to dream again, which of course I told you our marriage was just at a point that I never thought it would be at. And so even the dream of having that holy and thriving and fun marriage, okay, so that's a dream that got me excited. What do I do? The dream of coaching and training women. Okay, that's a dream. What do I do? And I began to realize through the class that developing my self-image was my duty, was my responsibility, that the relationship we have with ourselves determines the relationship we have with the people around us. We cannot command respect from the world, from our family, unless we deeply respect who we are as human beings, as women. I started to really become tired of saying, I just don't have enough time. I don't have enough money to do what I want to do. And I started even, I'll share more about the scripting, but I shared at the beginning, but that taking on a script, like, I don't manage my time, I manage my priorities. It also gave me a change in mindset. And what is mindset? I feel like it's a very like cliche, trendy word, if you will. It's a fun word. I think it's kind of fun, but I didn't really know what it was. So mindset, the class teaches you about that basically what we think about expands. So our brains are 95% subconscious, 5% conscious, and we work out of this 5% conscious, but how we work is trained by the 95%. That's what comes out here. And so we can access and replace any of those false wirings and thoughts by rewiring that. We actually can rewire new thought patterns. I said to my kids once, I was like, my superpower, your superpower is that we actually get to control our thoughts. And the program has helped me to build tools to rewire my thoughts. To rewire those past narratives. That really has brought me so much peace and purpose. I even liken it to, it's like God's little miracle tool. In Romans 12, too, it says, be transformed by the renewal of the mind. And that's what I coach to and teach to, that it's this tool of the renewal of the mind. And lastly, what it did for me, I shouldn't say lastly, it's done so many things, but that I want to touch on, is that it gave me a skill set that is necessary for living a meaningful and life of contribution. And let me just share a quick example. This might seem silly and very simple to you, but it's actually pretty massive in my life. So since the time I was like in 7th grade, literally, I remember saying this about myself. My parents said about me, even my friends, like anyone that knew me was like, Kristen just can't make a decision to save her life. Decisions are so hard for Kristen. Even myself, like, oh, guys, I just can't make a decision. Like, I couldn't make a decision where to eat. I couldn't make a decision with what I wanted to do. And it just massively, as you know, you grow older, decisions become bigger. And that's the narrative I had. Decisions are just so hard for me. And I actually, with the school, realized that making decisions is just a skill. You can learn it, you can get better. But I also, in that mindset, it was one of the things that I started rewiring right away, was that I was like, when I'm 50, when I'm 60, when I'm 70, I don't want to still be saying, I just can't, decisions are so hard for me. I just can't make decisions. I'm just not a good decision maker. I was like, no, I want to redesign that. And so I ended up scripting whenever that thought would come in. I immediately say, I make bold and brave decisions each and every day. Kristen can't make, no, I make bold and brave decisions each and every day. So you learn the skill set of resilience, gratitude, courage, mind management, emotional command, the skill of pivoting, not basketball pivoting, I'm a basketball coach, but pivoting in life, recalibrating, the skill of effective communication, order, integrity, so many more. So when we get off the hamster wheel of life, we have to make time to ask the question, how will I be different 5 years from now? How will I be different a year from now? And if we are growing as we should, we really shouldn't be able to recognize ourselves even 6 months down the road. And I truly believe this. I see it with myself. Again, I don't think I was able to label it at that time. I see it with another woman, but to be the same woman year after year actually causes suffering. Anxiety, depression, exhaustion, depletion come from waking up day after day, being that exact same woman day after day. We were made for growth. We were made for expansion. And we should never arrive. It's not like, I've done this class, I've arrived. It's no, that we are always climbing to that next summit. We never arrive. We only evolve into our elevated self. So before I go into, I know we're coming on time here. Before I go into the different ways to take the class, I did want to pull up a screen to just show the different modules. Becky, did you want to pipe in here first and share a little testimony, or do you want me to keep going?
No, you can keep going.
Okay, I'll keep going. I am going to let Becky. She is going to share with you all. So let me share my screen really quick. Just of what the art of being a woman, of what the class is. I'll just give you this. I can actually send this. Becky can send it to you as well. I see Dusty on the call too. Thank you for coming. Okay, these are the class is, can you see that full screen? Yes. I think I'm going to make it bigger here. Okay. The class is a 6-month comprehensive course. And what we go through is the first module is discovering our dreams, the purpose of desires, crystallizing your dreams in all the different arenas, identifying goals and bringing them to reality, actually teaching how to put in an action plan, building a routine, massive for me, completely new 180 for my life, and discovering your contribution. And in module 2, we pivot into discovering your self-worth, designing your future self, replacing that negative self-talk, creating self-image, getting rid of comparison and competition, developing your attitude, which is everything, and the foundational skills for women. In module 3, we begin to understand your mind. We learn how to manage your thoughts, beliefs, words, manage your mind, emotions, stress, critics, massive, disappointments, managing time blocks even, and activities. In module 4, we begin to learn, and really all the classes just run into each other, but we learn self-accountability, which accountability starts with ourselves. We learn skills, scripts for healthy boundaries, creating healthy standards in our roles as woman, mother, friend, sister, daughter, healing of old wounds in your family origin, how to impact, inspire, and hold your standards with men or in marriage, cultivating connections. So then module 5 is how to become a confident woman through competence. Actually, love that class of how to become a confident woman. It's not that God just gifted, Becky is so confident, God just gave her that. She is confident and she is amazing, but you build confidence, we teach, through competency and consistency. That's a whole nother Zoom session. Redefining what beautiful is, managing tonality, body language, word choice, creating a peaceful home and work environment, even hosting. The last module is really going into living that art, the art of being a woman, creating impact, legacy, integrating our desires, that we're a whole woman. We're not just one piece here, there, we're a whole woman, finding our voice, using it to serve humanity, finding your mentor, living a life by design, not by default, and really cultivating that sustainable peace of mind. Sounds good, right? Lots of great stuff. I am going to pivot really quick just into get into the class, but then go into the cost and tuition. And I said this at the beginning, but if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I can answer them at the very end. I also included my email and I can be in touch with you. Becky's really good at answering questions too. So you can always ask her as well. But I am launching my next group and it begins in October and I'm super excited about it. I love to see how the women just, how our group is formed. Again, I'm like, all right, Lord, this is your group. How it's formed is how it's formed. It's always amazing how it comes together. So it's designed, the class, you go through one lesson per week over 22 weeks, and you watch a webinar and you do the homework on your own time. And so I would say it's at least an hour and a half to 2 hours a week that you commit to. And you can't just watch the lesson, you do have to do the corresponding homework, because knowledge, as I've learned, does not equal transformation. You have to have knowledge plus formation, which is the work, to have transformation. Okay, so as far as tuition and how I run, there's two ways to go through the class. The first way, I do it privately. I have many clients that have chosen to go through this in a one-on-one, I call it private strategy, which includes a lifetime access to the Art of Being a Woman masterclass. And because I'm a coach and a trainer, I liken this, it's like a personal trainer type of a way to do the class. We dive into each lesson each week and strategize on how to clarify your vision, achieve exponential growth for you, create effective habits, develop your mindset, skill set. And it's like a fast track option. The strategy sessions will run for 6 months, so half a year. We do about 24 calls, which are 40 minutes each, plus 2 hours, 1 hour for the first 2 weeks of a personal assessment call with me. The cost of that tuition is $5,500. The second option that I do is a group option. I liken it to group fitness. And I was an aerobics instructor as well. And so I love group fitness. If you decide to take the class this way as a group, which is what Becky's doing, and Dusty is on the call right now too, she's doing that as well. The rate is $997. And if you take it as a group, then we meet in a group mastermind that I facilitate bi-weekly, and we go over 2 lessons. And it's a group of growth. And so I really truly believe God designed us for mentorship. He didn't design us necessarily to just work on our own. We need that depth of friendship. We need that accountability. We need that group mastermind. We need the collaboration. And that's what this group offers. I also do coaching within that. It goes, depending how big the group is, it's 60 to 90 minutes. And just even the rate of $997, just to put it into context for you, I, again, had never invested in myself like that. Becky and I were talking earlier how I invested in my kids' sports. What's the cost? Okay, let's do it. This is important. This is of value. And so for me, investing in myself and really having that skin in the game was everything. And one class, I live right next to a university. So I was actually just asking the gals, and they were like, funny enough, they didn't even know how much a class was. I was like, what? I don't know how much you're paying. But one university class is double, if not triple the price. So for half the price and 100% of the value, I'm not saying college is not important because I went to college, but I do believe that this class, you will learn a lot more than you learned in 101 accounting or 202 history. I do like history. And, I've gotten more from this course pretty much than any other course that I've taken. I did major in theology from a very good university. So I have to say some of those courses were of a lot of value, but it still didn't help me in my decision-making. So it was well worth it and affordable for me in the investment that I took and what I've, received from it. So that is that. I do want to ask Becky if she can unmute herself and just share for us. Becky's still in the journey of it. I would say I'm looking at my my wall here with my business stuff. You're actually getting kind of far. Yeah. Yes, 4 months, right? It's crazy. Yeah. So unmute yourself. Just maybe you can share too what it's been like for you.
Yeah, I shared at the beginning, so I won't share again. Basically, like the fact that I was praying about, like what I was supposed to do next and such. And it's interesting because everybody in our class, I love our class, and I mean, I don't want to like sway anybody against the personal one-on-one if that's what they want to do, but I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way. For me, I like the group dynamic. We learn from each other. I like to meet people. I'm a social person. Dusty's in the class also. It's a lot of fun to get to see all of that. It also kind of puts you in a position where you don't have to talk when you don't want to. Like Kristen will call on you. Like she will go around and she will call on you. But so, I came in at a different point. Kristen commented, "Oh, Becky's so confident." I wasn't always. I mean, I definitely was not always at all. But what I love is like in the very beginning, for me at least, kind of knew where God was leading me next. And it immediately put me in a position of like having the tools I needed to like literally put on paper how that was going to happen. And some of you guys know that I'm running for state office, which is a little insane. And it was like, okay, I really don't think that I announced the 4th of July. I would not have been ready to do that. I literally was able to sit down and be like, okay, I need to do this, 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 and this, and put a date to it. And things that I've spent years like learning in different training classes, I was able to do in just so much of a different way. And so I went in and, Kristen, she's always like, oh my gosh, you and Chris, I just always watch you guys dream. And, like, I've always watched this. And I mean, I know, Kristen, you just like, oh, Becky's so great and this and that. But Kristen also knows, that there are like those emotional pieces. Those are things that are down deep that I'm still working on, just, even with my family and marriage and those kind of things. So, and then I know for me and the friends of mine who are doing it, the faith aspect of it was really super important. So, the program isn't by definition a Christian program or this program or this, that. So I really truly feel like if somebody was coming into the program and they were Muslim or they were Jewish or they were, anything else, like they wouldn't feel uncomfortable in the program at all. And that spiritual faith-based aspect of it, I think it's just for the people, my friends who've gone into it, that honestly, I think is what makes this program, sets it aside in such a different way. And just the way, like just even that idea that each and every one of us were created for a specific mission and a specific purpose. And if we do not step into that and fulfill that, that light will never, ever, ever shine for all of eternity. We truly, honestly, are the only ones set for that specific time and purpose and mission, is an insane and very true thing. Like we were not just put here like to go about life and see if we're going to be obedient to God. And, he truly like has a purpose for each and every one of us. And to even be able to like look at that in relation to my children. And anyway, so I've gotten so much out of it. And I know a couple of people were like, well, gosh, who are on this were like, well, Becky, if you're referring it must be good. Like, I don't put my name behind something that I don't stand behind. I have done trainings with some of the top people in our industry, and I can't in good conscience recommend that people do those programs, not because they're not great, but the coaches they've trained are not great. The coaches aren't able to duplicate. And so, yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not a coach for the program. I'm not a strategist. I really, truly, I believe in the program, and Kristen is a phenomenal coach. I do know one other coach pretty well, but I'm not going to lie. If Kristen's starting a class, she is the one I refer to. So, yeah, I don't know, Kristen, did you want me to say anything else?
No, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. You have such an authentic and real journey, and I think it's true. Even as far as you've come in building your career and your family, there's always more, right? And that's the exciting thing.
Yeah, you know what, Kristen, I do want to say that also. Like, I find like I am at a point where in running for office, because I am running to win, and I do believe if God has told me to run, I'm going to win, not because I'm arrogant, but I did tell the vice chair of our county party, you can run 50 people against this seat, but I'm still running, and I'm still running to win. And I do still believe that God is going to put me in that state house, not because I'm arrogant, but because they're establishment. But there are certain skills, like for me to be able to say, like, resilience is a really big one for me right now. People on the outside might think I'm a lot more resilient than I am, and I am getting there. But like, I have to be able, as women, we're taught to like, be softer, be more gentle, be more soft, talk softer, don't, rock the boat, don't, and like women who rock the boat, not nice things are said about them. Like I have to be able to go into that environment ready to fight and then walk out and be able to like not be affected by it and take that back off. And we're not taught that kind of thing, and so I'm getting to the next level of those kind of things through this class also. So
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you. And thank you for sharing that about white coaching. I do love it. I feel like and Becky was saying I do love the group class. I always find that sometimes people want to do both. And so I always have private coaching packages that I offer. Sometimes there's specific roadblocks, it might take 2 times, 4 times, whatever it might be. So they're all, there's different options, and I'm always willing to work with you.
I do think that there's certain things like, I mean, I know someone who came in through private coaching and she is now a strategist. What she was dealing with, she may not have been able to deal with in a group environment. I mean, it was monumental. Her child had been severely hurt, and she probably would not have been able to come in through that route. It was like instant, needed to be dealt with. She had to figure out how to protect her child right then and there. And so I think that, but my personality lends itself to the group environment.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yes, I am launching a new group, which is so exciting, like I said. So it's going to start, I'm pretty sure it should be starting October 11th, which is just a couple weeks away. Very soon, actually. I cannot believe September is almost over. But so I left my email in the chat box. You can contact me or Becky. I would be honored to journey with you. If you have felt at all that this is kind of tugging at you and you're like, but I don't know, feel free to set up. I love to do just a call, just a one-on-one where we can talk through it, and I can kind of answer your questions or see exactly where you are or what season you're in, and give you my suggestions. But I do always feel like that tugging, it's the Holy Spirit, and maybe it's not this season, maybe it's another season, but yeah, I'm super excited to be launching in October. And I wondered if anyone had any questions. We can answer those, or again, you can email us.
You want to turn the recording off before they have
Yes,
questions?
very good idea.